it's like I told people on Nextdoor, um, I really haven't taken an active role in doing any research. And in all honesty, I really don't know any of the candidates, and that includes the ones I voted for in 2016. So I appreciate the fact that you and the other candidates are willing to spend a little time and just talk to a neighbor and
Yeah,
just imagine that other people are listening in on the conversation.
that makes me nervous.
No, 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 not at all. I am not Walter Cronkite. I am not a journalist in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, I have to click on little buttons here and get my questions up, particularly
Okay.
because of the seat you're running for. And I'll ask you, well, let me start off with I just hit the record, so I'm going to welcome my guest today. And you are running for school, right? And I do
Yes.
apologize. I forget what
Oh,
the actual title is.
it's quite all right. It's the Liberty Union High School Board.
Okay. And
Yeah, it's a district with, here in Brentwood and Oakley and Knightson. There's 5 schools, and I'm running for the board.
there it is. There it is. And I want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly, Dr. Tamala Hawley.
That's exactly right. Thank you.
Well, I have a name of Dorman, and usually people
Oh,
look at it and get all confused. So,
I can imagine.
well, you know what? Let's jump right into it. Now, as I had said in Nextdoor, my kids are grown. And so my younger son graduated from Heritage. He was one of the first graduating classes, not one of the first graduating class. So that's how detached I am from the school, the system, and so on. And so I appreciate the fact that I had people ask questions that I may ask you, and hopefully we'll get a sense of not just you as the person, but you as the professional and you as the politician. And I'll use quotes for politician because it seems like everyone who's running in Brentwood, oh, no, 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 I'm not a politician. And it's like, okay, potato,
We're
potato.
not politicians.
Yeah, well, I figure if you're running for a political office, by default, that makes you a politician. But who am I to judge? So, Doctor, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? And in the easy question, um, what is bringing you to um, the school board?
Absolutely. Um, I will tell you, um, like you, I have children who just finished, graduated from Liberty High School, twins,
Oh, wow.
just this past June. I'm a parent, and I'm so happy to uh, be almost an empty nester. But of course, in this situation that we're in, my kids are still home and they're doing their work for college from home, which I'm very proud of them for that.
Mhm.
But who am I? I mean, I guess I'm a politician, but I'm really not um, running in that capacity. What I'm doing is I'm running as a parent, as a member of the community. I'm trying to figure out how I can best make a difference. I've been working in higher education um, since 1994, so that's quite a long time. I've done probably every job there is to do. Started out as a professor, went, was an associate dean, a dean. I was 3 or 4 years as the director of research at the Baltimore County Public Schools, one of the largest public school districts in the country.
And
I'm a Bay Area girl, yeah, born and bred. And, when I came back to the Bay Area, of course, I found a different place than when I had left 20 years before. But I had brought my twins back. And we moved to Brentwood for a reason. The reason we moved to Brentwood was for the schools. And my children had an incredible experience at Liberty High School. And throughout the time, I realized that there were things that my kids knew about how to get through the process, about how to apply to college, about how to do the things that they need to do to succeed,
Mhm.
that their friends just didn't know. We were the family that kind of, you came over and let's help you fill out an application. And it piqued my interest. I said, well, what can I do? I bring my expertise, bring my passion, bring my love for the kids. And I decided to throw my hat in the ring because I think that every place can always improve. And although there is a wonderful story to be told about Liberty and all of the high schools that are within our district, I think that it's good to have a fresh voice. And I think I can provide some kind of perspective, that the perspective of somebody who has been there. I raised kids. I took advantage of the opportunities that were provided to us here in Brentwood, but I've also been other places and I've seen some ways in which we might get better at doing the thing that we do best.
Okay.
So that's me.
Okay, no, and that's great. And I can hear your kids in the background who, of course.
Oh, yes, they are not going to be shy.
Oh, no.
No, I have a loud, noisy, crazy household with dogs, teenagers, boys running up and down the house. So please, this is a Brentwood house.
Oh, yeah. No, let me tell you, an empty nester is a relative term anyway.
Right.
My sons are 34 and 30. And now my oldest son moved out here. It's one of the reasons I moved out here to Brentwood is because of the atmosphere. And that, well, when I moved out here 17 years ago, it definitely had that small town agricultural feel. Well, not so much anymore, but we're talking about schools. So I'll leave all that other stuff to the other candidates. So let's go with, let's address the elephant in the room, which is COVID. And of course, I don't know if I could adapt in today's environment with even high school kids, let alone, preschool, first, second, third grade. So say this is the new normal is a really underplaying. But of course, there are parents who are worried not just sending their kids to school, but having them, I want to say work from home. That's the parents now. They're working from home, but doing their school activities at home. So there are both ends of the spectrum with the same challenge, which is COVID. And I know you're not going to have all the answers. Boy, I don't think anyone does. But I would like to get your take. Let's say blue skies, everything goes your way. What would you do to help both sides of this equation for kids?
First of all, I'm in it. I'm part of that group of people whose twins didn't have a senior year. Right? So they didn't go to the prom. We had a little poster outside that said 2020 graduate. We had a drive-through graduation. This was something that this is going to be their high school experience, what they remember.
Right.
But I'm also, I'm a college administrator. I understand what the school has to go through to try to make sure that our kids are as safe as they can be. Part of that is having the teachers be safe.
Right.
Part of that is making sure that the families have what they need in order to make sure that their kids can learn. We're in a situation in the board that I'm running for, it's high school. That's way different from K-8.
Okay.
So the situation that we're in a pandemic, and the kids are at home. They've got to work from home. This is their job, actually. They're students, so they work. They work from home.
Mm-hmm.
The parents, I'm lucky enough to be able to stay home with them because I'm working from home, but a lot of parents can't do that. Understood. If I had the best world that I could have, kids would be in school. It's not the best world that we can have. What can we do?
Right.
It's not going to be tomorrow, but in order for us to get to a place where we have our normal back, we need to make sure that everyone is safe and has the right kind of testing and has the right kind of precautions before we get back into the classroom full time with everybody there the way that we're used to doing it.
Okay.
What does that mean? That means that for now, we have to make sure that teachers understand and have what they need to be able to provide the kind of education that they can while in this kind of remote, what we call remote learning situation. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that families, some of them can't always adapt to the technologies that it takes. You and I are on our computers. Mm-hmm. As imperfect as it might be, the dog might fly through in a minute. But I have Wi-Fi. I can get on a computer. I've got a couple of them. My daughter sits right next to me doing her homework. Some families don't have that capability.
Right.
How can we equip families with what they need as a district to ensure that they can participate in the learning program? There's something called an opportunity gap.
Right. Right. Well, you raised a couple of questions, and that's why I was typing here. Let's start backwards with when you asked, how can we equip parents? So how can we equip parents? Now, let me throw an idea, and maybe I'm just too simplistic when it comes to it. You have massive amounts of computers that are sitting in empty classrooms right now. What prevents, I'll say you, but and I don't know if it's the school board or some other administrative body, but what prevents that entity from just taking the computer system on this desk and giving it to Jimmy, or taking the computer system from this desk and giving it to Susie?
There's nothing that prevents that from happening. We have to be planful about the way in which we do it. I happen to know at Liberty, they've taken some steps to equip families with laptops and hotspots, which is great. Mm-hmm. Probably haven't reached everyone. We have a diverse community, not just diverse ethnically, but diverse socioeconomically, diverse in terms of the type of place you live, rural. We've got it all out here. And Liberty has a far reach.
Right.
Right. So there's nothing that stops the institution from going through their inventory and ensuring that every teacher and every family has what they need. What is needed from a board perspective is the will, the gumption, and the accountability to make that request and ensure that all of the administrators get that the board is committed to ensuring that this does happen.
Okay, no, and that's
you need to be strong enough.
Oh yeah, no, and that I have absolutely, I'm agreeing with you 100% on that. But let's say you were on the board today, all right, and I just threw that proposal out there. Now, you may not know the answer to this question because, you're going to be a newly elected candidate. And I say you're going to be, I'm going to say that to everybody, I have to be ready.
Of course, that makes so much sense.
One of you is going to win, or two, or however many we vote for. But going back to my question, if you were on the board right now, would you, or can you, I'm still trying to understand what stops the principal at Liberty, the principal at Heritage, and all the other schools where they do have computers right now. What stops them from taking an ID tag and assigning it to Johnny, taking an ID tag and assigning it to Susie, as opposed to waiting? And maybe no one's thought about that, but we keep hearing, the things we should do, and I haven't really heard. Okay, I haven't really, not from you necessarily, but I really haven't heard how it should be actually addressed. I mean, COVID in March, I think it was March, April, whenever they shut the schools down, okay, that was 5 months ago. And I would think, and again, you're new at this, and maybe this is something that you could address to the incumbents, that they had let's say 4 months to come up with something. And we're in October, and we're nowhere near something. So how does a parent address that? And I'm talking to you as a parent now, not a politician, not somebody running for office. How can a parent address
that? I've spent my entire life, it feels like, going to schools and addressing issues for my children. As somebody who kind of knows what it takes to run a school, I want to let you know that it is a more complicated situation than what we're bantering about. I mean, because we both want the kids to have the computers. I've been out of work in terms of my office has been closed, and what we did was we went in and we got our computers and we brought them here to our offices. We had to sign them out, and there were certain precautions taken. That's a large undertaking. It's different in an office of 22 people versus a school that houses 2,000 kids.
Well, let me interrupt. I'm sorry for interrupting, but my wife, actually I'll go with my son. He works for Adobe, and there are far more than 2,000 people who work at Adobe, but they're making it work.
It happened.
And so and again, I'm not trying to paint you in a corner. Maybe this is more for the incumbents, that I understand there are 2,000 kids in here. But as you said, even though, yes, it was 22 people for you, but you made it happen, and your company made it happen. And I understand that it's complex, but it's a real simple calculus. And that is the complexity of 5 months ago should be thrown out the window, because right now there are parents who are watching this who have kids who do not have the materials necessary. And you have said materials sitting on a desk in a classroom somewhere.
It is true.
Or a tirade, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I get it. I'm trying to give the district a little bit of credit, but the truth is that you have to be a little stronger as a board. There's no two ways about it. You have to realize that who you come to represent are those kids and the families that are trying to raise them and do the best that they can. I'm coming as a parent, and I'm coming as somebody who has seen the equity gaps. what you need is you need a strong voice, but you need to be able to come to the table and talk and bring people together, not fight. We're not coming here to fight, but what we're coming here to say is, I would like for my children to have the same opportunities as your children. And I want the same for your children. I want everybody that lives in the boundaries of this district to have the same opportunities for an education as the person that they're living right next door to. What does that take? As a board member, anyone needs to come to the table and ask that question. And that the answer to that question forwards all of our lives. Not just mine, not just yours, not just the superintendent or principal. Liberty becomes a better school district when all the children have what they need, when all the families have computers at their desk. A computer doesn't cost that much.
Well, especially since, I'm sorry, especially since you have computers sitting on desks right now, and I'm sorry if I keep beating that dead horse.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You know, because you talk about wealth inequity, and yeah, it's out there, but COVID seems to be an equal opportunity destroyer. It doesn't matter if you're the top 1% or if you're on AFDC. And to be honest, I've been on both sides of that equation. And so, yes, everyone needs to come to the table. Everyone, you know, yes, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. But that does not get us from where we are to where we need to be. And again, I'm not trying to paint you in a corner. And possibly after you win, and again, I know I'm going to be right when I say that, with somebody, but
somebody's going to win.
Right, somebody's going to win. And if it is you, are these suggestions that I'm throwing out there and other parents are throwing out there, is that something that you can deal with on day one? Or is that where politics comes in, as far as you know?
I am not here to say what the board has done in the past. I don't know that. Right. What I know is what I'm committed to. And on day one, if parents come, and maybe what we're saying is parents need to know that they should be coming to talk about what is that they need. I'm that voice. So I will be a loud voice for what it is that parents need to make sure that their kids have what they need to learn. Because that's who I am. I'm one of those parents.
Right, right.
Now, yeah. Now, certainly, yeah. I was going to say, certainly, it takes a minute to see those changes, because we've had a board that's been around for a very long time. So we need a fresh face, a fresh voice, a fresh commitment to making this the best Brentwood, the best Marsh Creek that we can have. And it takes some new thoughts and some new ideas.
I agree, 100%. And I'm not trying to slam the existing board because I have no skin in the game. My youngest graduated 12 years ago. But when I listen to the parents that I do speak with, and this, again, maybe I'm just too simplistic in this mindset, but I am truly stuck on stupid. I am
it's
thinking,
not stupid.
Oh no, I am. Oh,
it's not. It's not. It's important.
No, it is. But I mean, but if I were a parent and I had the ability to go see the principal at Heritage and say, okay, my son Christopher sits in this chair. I will sign out this equipment so that he can work at home. The broadband and all that other stuff, yes, that is a problem. But it doesn't matter if you have gig speed if you don't have a computer. and again, I would love to have laptops, fall from the sky. I would love to even create some type of crowdsource to get the kids what they need. Because if, and I'm hoping that your competitors who are incumbents right now see this and think, oh, maybe we could just do that. As far as I know, I don't know about legalities. I don't know about all that other stuff. And I don't want to beat this dead horse. Like I said, that was on the end of when I talk about COVID and parents, the ones who are, adjusting rather, working, schooling remotely. The ones who, where, whether it's from the very top, the Fed, or at the local level, the varying degrees of, we want to put kids' butts in seats back at Liberty or Heritage, and please forgive me, I don't know any of the junior high or grammar schools, but those seats too. I know there are parents and I know there are kids who can't wait to do that. But how can it be done, as far as how can it be done, safely? If it can be done, I mean, maybe safety now is a relative term. But how, what would you do if you had the authority to issue okay, kids, parents can decide if you want to go to, I'll keep using Heritage, if you want to go to Heritage or if you want to work remotely, we set up the parameters at the school as best you can. Is that something that you feel you can strive for, that you can do something like that, where give the kids and the parents the opportunity to choose?
There will be a time when we can go back to the school. Freedom, Heritage, Liberty, Independence, we will be back in school. Gradually, we can move to some kind of situation where students may be able to choose a pod to be with students that are doing some similar work to them, have the teacher there. It's going to take real planning. It's going to take safety, testing, and making sure that everybody is well. So that's not today, because you need at least 2 weeks for people to quarantine. You need some time to figure out how to distance the classrooms. You need some time to figure out how we're going to teach in pods, for example, and then gradually move us back to a place when it's safe in our California to bring everybody back. So if I were the administration, which I'm not, I would be looking to plan a situation where we can do that. Because I don't see that happening right now. It can't be tomorrow, but we need a plan.
Right. No, definitely. And as you're speaking, and I'm sitting here thinking, you look at the NBA, you look at the NFL. Now, granted, they have millions of dollars, to work with, and they also have millions of dollars.
They can be in a bubble.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, with kids, it's going to be different. But I guess, again, this goes all the way back to, I am so glad I am not a parent. Doesn't matter if it was here or San Francisco or wherever, a parent of a child. Because I know there are no easy answers, but it's like quantum computing to me. I'm an analogy guy. It's like quantum computing to me. We could talk theory all day long, but we actually need practical application. And honestly, and I'm not saying I haven't heard it from you, I haven't heard it. the
Yeah.
practical application of what's, how to deal. Uh, and on that note, because we talked about the kids, the teachers, that's a tough job out the gate, where you had teachers who were coming out of pocket with, their money for supplies and things like that, working long hours and dealing with, and I guess if there's a silver lining around COVID, a lot of these parents know exactly how bad their kids are when it comes to going to school and dealing with teachers. They think, oh, Johnny's such an angel, and then he's a real pain in the butt class. And I'm speaking from experience with that. Hello, Christopher. But now it seems like it's really tough on teachers, because and I don't even know how it's being done really. I know in some cities where they do have on-campus learning, you have teachers who are doing double duty, teaching the kids here and then teaching the kids here. And in a perfect world, I think that's tough. So how would you, again, if you had a magic wand, how would you address the teacher stress? And give you a couple examples. Teachers' aides. There are a lot of people who want to volunteer. As a matter of fact, I even have a whole line on volunteerism. But is that something that is possible? Because you do have parents that would love to volunteer. You also have parents, and I tried to start something on Nextdoor before I was booted. Because, well, never mind why I was booted, but trying to set up something where you had stay-at-home parents already that were already doing homeschool. And I was suggesting to these parents, well, why don't you reach out to parents who can't do the homeschool? And again, just have Johnny and Susie come join Jimmy, and they're classmates anyway. But that to me is a variant of a teacher's aide. So is something like that a feasibility? Is that feasible if you had a magic wand?
Yeah, it's feasible. Waving my magic wand. Right now, the parents are being teachers' aides because their kids are at home and they're learning. I'm working on essays even though my kids are in college. It is probably something that, especially at the high school level, the district has forgotten about. They've forgotten that there's this wonderful group of people called parents that are there for them to help. What can we do? And I think that's a wonderful idea that you had. It's something that, one of the things that I believe is that parents do not assert their rights as much as they could and should. And it's important for us to stand up and come with our ideas and demands. And so, yes, that's feasible. Yes, I do believe the district should look into it. And yes, I think the board should take it up. How? That's going to be people throwing around ideas and trying to figure out how to get it done. They haven't thought of it before. I just want to let you know that.
No, and why would you? For me, and again, it's easy for me because I have no skin in the game, but once upon a time I used to be a project manager, and the one thing I used to teach my students is the first rule of a plan is that the plan is flawed. You just don't know where. And so we are at that, we just don't know where point. And coming up with ideas, profound, simple. I appreciate the fact that you're listening, because I'm reading from notes taken that were given to me by parents. If you want to say anything else about that subject, I really only have one more, and I think I've covered the scope of what it is that you will achieve when you have your butt in that seat.
I do want to say one more thing about the subject of parent. I think we're talking about kind of parents and how we can get involved, and it's one of the ways I'm trying to get involved. I actually have a meeting next week with the superintendent.
Okay.
And I asked for a meeting because I wanted to know what he was thinking. You know, as a parent, I want to know what you're thinking. Here I am, running for the board.
Mhm.
And so some of the things that you've said, I think he should hear. And I'm going to tell him.
Great.
So I think what we can do as a community, as a group of parents and neighbors, is get together and figure out what we need, and then go tell somebody, this is what we need, and make sure we stay on them until they give it to us. That is the way to make it happen.
Yeah.
That is the way to make it happen.
Oh yeah, the squeaky wheel theory, and it does get the most grease. And when you win, we'll be looking at you saying, "Okay,
Now try to make that happen.
try and make that." Well, you got to take try out of the equation.
Yeah.
Try for me is like might, maybe, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
But
We got to make it happen. We do it together as a community.
exactly. Now, the last thing that was brought up by parents has to do with the school resource officers.
Mhm.
Now, I had to deal with a school resource officer once, and well, at least the one I had to deal with was an actual cop. This is a new paradigm for me, having police in a schoolyard or in a school facility. And maybe that is the way it's just going to be right now. I know with Heritage, at least 12 years ago, you didn't have to go through metal detectors and all that stuff. It's an open campus. Same thing with Liberty, and I think Freedom and all the others. So that's good. But what are your thoughts? Honestly, I don't even know what the status is right now of school resource officers. I don't know if they're in there still or they're getting pulled back. What are your thoughts?
School resource officers are a thing. They're in schools. And the reason why I think it's fine is because I believe in the community working together.
Mhm.
And the police is a part of the community and they work with us. I remember LA, where I lived for a little while, and we had metal detectors.
Mhm.
And the kids used to go into the schools and they felt like they were in prison.
Right.
No, that is not what I think we need. Children need to go to school and feel like they're at school. We don't want to talk about, or we don't have time to talk about sort of what happens when you have in a situation where students feel like prisoners. Where are they going to go after? That's
Let me
prison.
interrupt you. We have all the time in the world.
Okay.
Thing on this. My time is yours.
All right.
I can go get another bottle of water. We could take a break, come back. So don't let a
No.
time constraint.
No, but
There's
yeah.
a time constraint.
Well, let's have another session. But
Okay.
I will tell you, it's Brentwood Liberty is not going in that direction. We're not going to be living behind metal detectors and all of that. But what we do have, and I appreciate about our community, is one of the reasons I moved here, and I think that's one of the reasons why you moved here. And that's the community that we have. We care about each other. We take care of each other. We take care of each other's kids. And the police are the same. So we have the resource officers there for a couple of reasons. First of all, for safety, but secondly, for help. Especially in high school, there are things that students go through, and we need help sometimes from our resource officers. That's why they're there. They're there to be a part of the solution and to help us. And we want to see them that way. I think that it is a good situation. When I was at San Jose Evergreen Community College District. I ran the student success office there, and I went through ALICE training. This is a training where all of us was put in a room by our resource officers, and those resource officers made us go through a situation where there was a shooter. It was a pretend situation, but we had to play the roles. And we didn't want to do it. We had too much work to do and all that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you, if a situation were to happen to me today, I would know what to do. That's the beauty of having the community, a police presence to help us and teach us. We're in a situation, we're in a school and we're learning, and they're there as a part of the learning community. Where it goes wrong is when the power dynamics get to a place where we forget why we're there. So far, that's not the case in Brentwood. So if we're asking a question, do we need school resource officers? Sure, it's a part of what we're doing here as a community.
No, and when you brought up active shooter, that's why it was one of those where, okay, yeah, if there's any, even if there's just one single reason, I'm not for or against. So yeah,
I think it's more of a,
yeah, no, it's just more of a, one of those when I was a kid type of things. Now I know what my mother felt like, and she used to tell me she used to walk 20 miles in the snow to go to a one-room class.
I walked in the snow when I was in Maryland.
Oh, really? I was joking.
I walked in the snow. When I was in Maryland, I have an older child, and when we had such a snowstorm that when I got home from work finally, after 6 hours commuting, I got home at 10 o'clock at night. I left at 4. I got there before my child, who was on a school bus. He got home at midnight. That's to say that there are some communities that there's emergencies and we deal with those emergencies. And in Brentwood, we have our own type of emergencies, but there's communities that have it worse.
Absolutely.
They have it worse. What we need to do is come together as a community.
Right. No, I think in the grand scheme of things, we are in pretty good shape. It did throw, I have one more question as you were speaking. The psychological aspect of parents, kids, and teachers. Do you know of any resource where a parent or a teacher, well, teachers are probably, they have something, but a parent or a child can talk, and I don't know if it's a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a counselor. I don't even know if we have anything like that in Brentwood. If we don't, would you help put one together? And if we do, could you tell us where?
It's funny. I have taken advantage of mental health services for my kids, for my family, throughout. And I did take my daughter to a place in Brentwood, which was great. What I love about what you said is how can we bring resources together that could be free for families to participate in when they need it on a temporary basis or a long-term basis that's dedicated to families and children and students and the issues related to that. More than one time at Liberty, at our high school, there have been mental health emergencies at that point. And it's not because Liberty is so special that it needs these services. This is the time in students' lives when they do go through these trials. The time between going from childhood to young adulthood is a very stressful time. We need these services. And so yes, I do have the names, and I know people who do it if you have insurance. But what happens when you don't? how can we pull our resources together as a community and bring it to the high school. I want to tell two stories. Do I have time to tell two
You
stories?
have all
You're
night.
the one who brought this up.
Yeah. Oh, no, no, no. And I brought it up because of the fact that, yes, this is unprecedented with respect to uh, mental regression. I can't even
It's very
think of the
stressful
right
time
word.
right now.
Oh, yeah. No, and hey, I'll be the first to admit, boy, there have been times I can't even say times, I still do. You know, look, ask, you know, outside, you know, sitting down on the couch, so to speak, or what have you. So to answer your question, please feel free.
I know a student who had trouble, and Heather Harper, the principal at Liberty, called the family personally. And I want to put it out there that this is a community that cares. That's the first story. The reason why I tell that is because a lot of times you think, you know, those administrators, they don't care about stuff. The woman called this family personally to check up on the child. Second, my son had a friend who would come over to the house when he was a freshman, a young lady, and we would entertain her, and it would be time to take her home. We would take her to in Knightson. We could only take her so far. Then she would have to get out and walk. I was like, I kept asking myself, why do we have to do that? Finally, we sat the girl down and we asked. She was living on a farm where her parents were the workers on the farm. And this was her way of saying, this is not my property. It's time, you know, I'm going to go ahead and go now.
Right.
The reason I bring this up is to say there are a lot of students at Liberty who have various family circumstances, from mental health to poverty. They may be working on a farm. You're sitting right next to them, and you may not even know what their circumstances are. But back to what I said before, they have the same right to the opportunity to understand what it is that it's going to take for them to get through high school and be ready to go to college, maybe. Of course, everybody should be able to, if that's what they want to do, or have a career. And if you were going to ask me, what is the reason why I am running for the board? It's that reason. Because I believe that Liberty Union High School District has a wonderful mission. The mission is that the excellence that it provides goes for every single student. I just want them to realize that mission for every single student, regardless if they live in the $600,000 house or in the trailer because their father is a migrant farm worker.
Right. Right.
Yes, this is what I'm talking about.
No, 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 no. No, and that's exactly it. This is one of those. Maybe COVID is, again, the silver lining of this is it's bringing up challenges that have always been there, but now they're exacerbated. I would like to suggest, and that's because you have far more reach than me. My little next door is only like this big. Yours is a lot wider. And then when is setting up like a I'm grappling for the word, so I will just use like a Narcotics or Alcoholics Anonymous type of meeting in a Zoom environment where, you know, people that are willing to talk to each other or even just talk to the moderator some
Hmm.
type of exercise like that, where like a meeting, you set up a date and a time and a Zoom invite like I did with you. Um, Maybe that will help
Hmm.
address some of these concerns. Now, people are, of course, especially those who are in dire circumstances. Like I said, I've been on both sides of that. And I know that, especially a kid, um, the embarrassment that they feel, although they shouldn't have it, but they feel it nonetheless, like the young lady you were speaking about. They may need something a little bit more intimate. But I throw it out there as a suggestion. Again, there are people out
That's a
there
great suggestion.
that are willing to. I'm willing to do it. I
Hmm.
have no problem.
I would help with that.
And whether it's kids or adults, I kind of do it already anyway. When I do my ranting and raving on Nextdoor. But I just wanted to throw that out there as a suggestion. Again, I said this to Karen Rary, that we're not even at the new normal yet. We're in the unknown normal. And I honestly don't know if we will ever get to normal. Um, God in heaven, I never thought I'd have to wear a mask to go to the store. But it is what it is. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you with suggestions,
Mhm.
simple or outlandish, how would they reach
I have a Facebook page, um, and it is um, Tamala Holly for Our Future. Um, I can put it up on Nextdoor to make sure people get the right link, because I will know how to get the links off of these things on Twitter. Tamala Holly 2020. I'll put that up. And next week, Wednesday, I will have a forum where people can call in. We'll have a Zoom, and people can just ask questions, or I'm just interested in hearing what people have to say. I'll put that up as well.
Great. No, that's fantastic. And again, that's why I'm doing this, this little thing. Again, I'm not an interviewer. I'm just a neighbor. And so that type of organic town hallish forum, especially with Zoom now,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to slam the other platforms. I just love Zoom. But no, I think that's great, and the information to reach out to you and ask, or ask you questions, rather, kind of like
Mhm.
I'm doing right
And if they want to, just email me. Um, they can just write to my email, which is tamalaholly@att.net. So Tamala Holly, my whole name spelled out, which I'll put up as well, at att.net. And people could just write me emails if they just want to send me some information or give me ideas or talk about things as a parent.
No, that's great. And after this is done, if you can, I am the contact information you just gave. I won't do it on this because, as I told our neighbors, this is going to be unedited. So from the moment we say hello to the end of this, will be unedited.
We've had quite a conversation.
We've had quite a conversation, but that's why I'm going to break it up into small segments too. And
Okay.
then I break it up. That's where I'll put the information to reach out to you.
It's such a nice thing that you're doing, and it's been such a pleasure talking with you, Danny. You're one of my neighbors, somebody I haven't known that I know now.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of this. I now know you're not just a name on a voter, checkbox now, and
Mhm.
our neighbors are, they're discovering this too. So I want to thank you, Doctor. I really do appreciate your time, and I'm sure our neighbors appreciate it as well.
And call me Tamala, and I really appreciate you doing this. Let everybody know that in your family that I hope that they stay well.
Thank you very much. Yours as well. So Tamala, although you earned the title of doctor, but I shall call you Tamala. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and stop